Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Hi, Lisa. How you doing?
I am so good. How are you, Katie?
Good. I'm really excited about our guest today. I love finding people in this space doing this work.
Yes.
I was told for a long time this type of work doesn't sell. People don't care about it. And I'm like, I know they do. And so when I find people who are doing this work, I'm like, yes, see? Yes, it does work. People do want this. Actually, I believe people need it. But I'm really excited about our guest today. I love the work she does. So I'm going to introduce her. Welcome to the show, Kelsey Ellis. Welcome. We're so happy to have you.
Hello, hello. So nice to sit with you guys today and just get our chit chat on.
Let's do it. Before we get started, let our listeners know, like, what is the work you do? And just tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Where to begin? I'm a body positive fitness coach, a registered holistic nutritionist, and an anti-diet educator. And really, my focus and the mission and the work that I do is just amplifying people's confidence, reminding them that they have a beautiful meat suit that they can enjoy and live their best life in, and really just take the shame out of their fitness game, helping them to cultivate a healthy relationship with exercise and movement, and learn how to move their body from a place of joy rather than punishment. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I have a personal brand, Healthy with Kelsey. That's kind of the story behind, why I started what I do. I come from a background of having my own delusions about my body and feeling a lot of inadequacy about the way that I looked growing up. And it really kind of created the home base for the work that I do as a fitness coach, and just realizing that over the years, a lot of people are just like me and have similar, dissatisfaction with their body. And together we can really help reshape what wellness looks like and what the body standard can be and what athletes look like by really banding together and just changing the narrative about what health looks like.
I love it. She said meat suit. You heard that right. That's
I'm tempted to use something along those lines for the title of this episode. Like, love your meat suit. Love your meat suit. Okay, Anna,
Love
you
your
heard
meat
it.
suit.
We got to do that. That's the title of this episode. I love that. Well, it's a great segue into asking you the big question around here, which is, what is a belief that you once had that you no longer have that has impacted your life in a really meaningful way?
I absolutely love this question. And it's a question that I have been thinking about a lot lately. And the belief for me up until more recently, and even, I've been on my kind of body acceptance journey for a number of years now and kind of recultivating what my relationship with my body looks like. But it only really dawned on me the beginning of this year, when that narrative has kind of shifted away from trying to find love and comfort in my body at all times to really allowing myself to be okay with sometimes feeling uncomfortable. I think as a body positive coach and anybody who's kind of in this arena, there's like a lot of pressure to love yourself all the time, to love your body all the time. And I've realized that, a lot of the growth and the change that I've had in my life and the root of like my passion and why I'm so passionate about what I do and the message that I have is because I've spent so much time in discomfort. And so how is it possible to really know what it feels like to feel comfortable and to feel joy without the pain, the suffering, without the discomfort? So rather than looking at things as, let me try to box this away and let me try to, ease the discomfort and let me try to like keep a cap on it, it's like, wow, what would it be like if I allowed myself to feel it fully? What would it be like? What kind of joy could I experience knowing that coming out of the other side of this discomfort, that there's something better on the other side of it? And so it's really shifted for me this year more than ever to kind of accept the discomfort in the comfort. Accept the comfort in the discomfort. That way.
I mean, that's like just speaking to the human experience. And I think that is always the question that I've had in our work with WeShape is how do I know? Because WeShape wasn't always WeShape. We used to do a different company that was Body Transformation. It was like the opposite company until I learned that doesn't help anyone, including myself. And So I've always tried to be really conscious of, how do I know I'm not just doing the same thing wrapped in a different package, moving into body acceptance and body neutrality and body positive. Like, how do I know I'm not just doing the same thing? And I think you're speaking to that. Is that old thing that I used to do was all about check the boxes, wear the mask, I've got it figured out.
Yeah.
And this is the solution. And so I think you're speaking to that. That only speaks to one part of being a human being, and that's not authenticity.
No.
It's the full
Absolutely.
spectrum of what comes with all of those parts.
Yeah.
And I think,
being comfortable
kind of
there.
going off of
Go
that,
ahead.
it gives people permission to feel discomfort as well. I think, we live in an era of like the social media climate, and everything is perfection. Everything is so curated. Everything looks on the surface level to be kind of like, wow, she really loves her body and she is, so perfect and she never has bad days, and whatever the narrative might be. And when other people see that, it may give them the feeling like, well, I'm unhappy though. So like, how do I reach that? How do I have this level of perfection? And if we're all aiming for that, then we're kind of failing, There's a lot of positive that can come from the discomfort. There's a lot of positive that can come from the negatives. How do we even know what positive is without experiencing negative? Right? And so there's this kind of duality in life, and I'm leaning more into the more uncomfortable side of the duality. It's fun to have the positive, the happy, the joy, and that's who I am in my essence of just my day-to-day being, and acknowledging that, it also can be okay to have not so good days and days where I want to just bed rot and curl up in a ball and watch the entire season of Game of Thrones. That's okay as well.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. We've been talking about this, I think, on a few different episodes, but this idea that you can't experience, this joy and this happiness without understanding what pain and all of those icky feelings feel like, and working through the feelings and going through them, right? Not trying to get over them.
Yeah.
This idea, like sitting and feeling. And I think you follow her too, Bree Campos. She does a lot of work on body grief and just sitting in the suck, like sitting in the, the disappointment that you experience when you recognize like, I'm not going to be thin, or I'm not going to have this body I thought I was going to have, and acknowledging that hurts in a way.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's not some like shun to body positivity or body neutrality or, living a very authentic life. It's just the honesty piece of saying like, this is something that I desired for so long. Like I did it for me. It was like a 25-year like desire journey. Like, and so giving it up is like losing a part of your identity. I felt like
I
a part
love
of me sort
that.
of died in that, right? And you get this being in the fitness world. My dad was a competitive bodybuilder. And so I thought I was sort of fulfilling his legacy. I didn't go into bodybuilding, but just being in the fitness world, being an instructor, being in healthcare, in sports. And I just, so this thought that like, my body's not going to look like what I've always imagined. Like it sucked and it hurt. And it's really, I think it's important, and it's freeing to talk about that hurt and to be comfortable just like feeling those feelings, instead of trying to, like we talked about in our last episode, rush through, move to the next thing, pretend that didn't happen, fake it till you make it, just keep going. Like sitting there's therapy in that,
Yeah, it's like whack-a-mole. You can press it down one area and it's going to pop its head up somewhere else. Right. So, like you said, the way out is through, truly. And it's funny, you were talking about kind of living up to like this legacy and this like grief around, well, what if it doesn't work out? What if all the things that I've put all my energy into and, I was desiring for so many years is different? I came across that same feeling recently, when I switched over and I started doing coaching, and I started to coach from this kind of lens of body acceptance and just authenticity. I had a coach once ask me, Kelsey, if you didn't have fitness, then who are you? Like, who are you outside of fitness? Who are you beyond your body? And I was like, I don't know. I don't have an identity out of it. That was when I was so deeply rooted in like, weight training and what my body looked like and being the ideal trainer that people looked up to. And I really felt like I had no identity outside of myself. So when you said it feels like a part of you losing yourself, absolutely. And there is grief in any kind of loss. And so when that shifts and you now are opening the world up to be like, okay, who am I beyond just this thing that I've tried to be for so long? A lot of the walls start to crumble down. But the beauty in that is that it opens up the space for all these beautiful things to come in at the same time.
It reminds me of that, some people talk about, and I think everyone can have a different belief on this, but sometimes I think about and hear about the idea of I'm a spiritual being having a physical embodied experience, not I'm a physical body having a spiritual experience, because I think that is where we get trapped in the identity. Because if you're a spiritual being having a physical body or a human, like a bodied experience, it's harder to have it's harder to have identity,
Right?
Definitely.
because we identify with like the things we have, or the people we know, or the things we do, or the certificates on our wall, or the bank account, or and it's like, but if you're a spiritual being having a human an embodied, it suddenly like matters a little less.
Right. That's true.
Absolutely. And I think, it's a difference between what you do and who you are. And I firmly believe that no matter what I do in life, whether that's as a fitness coach, whether that as a bank teller, whether that would be as a landscaper, no matter who I am, what I do, whatever the next iteration of my life is going to be, I am the essence that is the thread that ties through all of it. So who I am as a person is going to be the same throughout all of the experience that I have, all the physical things that I do. And I just find that there's so much beauty in that. Whether it's from when I was working in a gym, whether it's as a nutritionist, I just have really found that like the genuineness, the authentic aspect, the uplifting, positive, joyful human being that I am, and the same person that you're going to see me as a friend, as a sister, as a wife, as a doggy mom, is the same. And, anybody out there who is listening, who is thinking, maybe I want to do this, or I want to have a shift in my life, but you feel like there's a market that you're moving into that's oversaturated, or you're like, well, how am I going to be any difference? What's amazing about it is that you can do anything and there's nobody who's like you.
Exactly.
That's the most amazing part of being a human being. We may all have similarities or, similar ideas of what we want to do, but you are the difference. You are the uniqueness. And there's so much power in that.
And I think where we get stuck is it's the culture that we live in that places the value on the thing. So then we inherently make decisions based off what we are projected at. People are projecting at us what is inherently valuable, and then we attach to that and then make decisions. And that is not making decisions from you. That is making decisions from projections of what people think you should be. And it's just like a totally different approach to how you live your life.
Yeah. When you turn inward and tune in. But that's so much harder.
It's so much harder.
Noise.
Well, because there's so much
noise.
Potential rejection and safety that can be compromised, and there's a lot of things that come with that.
Yeah.
But we talked about this in one of the other episodes. The beauty that is on the other side of being able to face those things.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Is like you get to a place where you all of a sudden will not betray yourself anymore.
Yeah.
Regardless of what is being projected at you, because you inherently know that worth.
Yeah, you know yourself better. That's so cool. I think that, first of all, your response to, the belief like that, I think that was a very important angle to highlight because, we do this work and we have all these podcast episodes back to back, for us. And sometimes it gets to be like around, it's always about value and worth, but sometimes it's like, oh, I thought I had to be thin, or, oh, I thought I needed to lose weight, or, oh, I thought, and I get that. I've definitely had that belief for myself before. But I think for, your response and sort of the evolution of like, once we get there, there's still, it's not like, oh, okay, I got it. I figured it out. I've accepted my body. Let's, this process is such a journey. So recognizing, like you said, the duality of it, sitting in the grief or the suck, and then seeing what blooms and blossoms from that. So I want to know, now that you have started that process and you're in that journey, how does that impact the work that you do with your clients and the content that you create, for all of us that are loving it? How does that, how does that show up in your work now? Because it's a part of like achieving this new identity, right? Because you shed these old beliefs about yourself and what you were supposed to do and be and look like. And now there's this new iteration of you. So how does that show up in the work that you do and how you impact, the world through your content?
Yeah. I am such a strong believer that the root of connection is vulnerability. And anytime that we can be vulnerable with another human being and another person, it opens the door for a deeper connection. Yeah. And so being honest with myself, learning that I don't have all the answers, that I'm not a perfect human being, and being able to share maybe the parts of myself that I would normally not want the world to see or feel ashamed of, that when I do, it creates the deepest connection with the people that follow along on my journey. And it gives them permission to be able to have those same conversations in their own life. Mm-hmm. And I think, I like to think it almost as like one match can light 1,000 flames, 1,000 torches. And so it only takes one person to start having those conversations and to show up authentically, to inspire us to start doing the same. And that will spread. And there's so much freedom. We talk often about the noise of life, the noise about our body, the external pressures that other people put on us to be something different than who we are. And I think when you have freedom, when you have peace of mind, when you know who you are and you feel proud of who you are and you have such an unshakable self-worth, it spreads like wildfire because everyone wants a piece of that. Your energy shifts because you show up differently when you know yourself and you love yourself, even through the darkest parts of it. So I think for me, vulnerability has been the biggest piece of kind of the transition into this work. Not only being vulnerable with myself, but being able to share that vulnerability with other people. And it's so powerful reading all the messages that come back that say me too, or I've felt this way, or I've had that same thought. And just knowing that you're not alone in it and having people have a support system and be there with you through it allows you to be okay a little bit or have a little bit more ease with the discomfort of the process.
I love that. It's like contagious. I love when you said it, the flame lighting 1,000, I'm like, I can see it. And when there are so many more people coming to this work and doing, you can start to see how the conversation is transitioning and shifting. And the community piece is so huge, that vulnerability, those connections that we create. And that's a big part of the work we do at WeShape is establishing community of similar-minded people who want the same things and can support and encourage one another. So I totally co-sign that.
And I think that what you're talking about, that totally links to what you were just talking about as it pertains to there's only one you.
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying is the key to that is that vulnerability. Yeah. Because you can't fake that. No one can steal your authenticity. Yeah. No one can steal that part of you. And you can't be on the right diet or do the right exercise program or have the best career or have all the money. Those things will not give you that.
No, they won't.
Yeah. And so it's I think that's part of my passion with WeShape is trying to communicate to people that we think we want weight loss. We think we want this. We think we want that. What we really want is permission to be ourselves and a safe container where that can happen. That's what we really want.
Yeah. Yep.
That is so beautiful. That is the deepest part of the onion. We start to peel back all these layers, and at the root of it, I just feel like every human person wants to belong. It's belongingness at the very, very, very root of it. It's the reason why we make the decisions we make every day, why we want more of the external things, whether that's a different body, more money, possessions. It's because we want to belong.
Yeah.
And the beauty of unpeeling those layers and letting go of all the external stuff and getting honest and real with yourself is that when you do have a connection with somebody, it's authentic. And there's nothing more feeling like belonging than knowing that somebody appreciates you and sees your worth unconditionally.
And and I think this is where it gets tricky, is when we get the courage to bring those parts out and then we do face rejection,
Yeah.
we are inherently told that it's not safe to do that.
Yeah.
And so community is the foundation for how we can create safety
Yeah.
to bring those parts out. And so
Definitely.
I want to encourage people that if you've tried to let these parts out and you feel like, oh no, I was misunderstood or I was rejected, or then that's just simply not your people. It's not you, it's them. And it's just a simple like pivot and a re-establishment of like, okay, I'm going to try that courage again and make, it's like, it's not you, it's them. Just find the right people. Like the best thing I ever did a couple years ago was unfollow most people on influencers on social and just retrain my algorithm to send me different people that I could connect with that aren't going to come from that same, and it's not like, it's no judgment to other people. It's just, I got to find the people that are in this same wavelength that I'm in so that I can let those parts out so that I can be my most authentic self.
Definitely. That community piece is huge. Having a support system, having people who can listen. I feel like listening is a skill set that is dying. But we could all, when you want to connect with somebody, really listening to what they're saying is sometimes all people need. It's just a safe place to speak their mind, to show up authentically. And I'm a huge proponent and encourager of people having like a therapist or somebody who can listen, who can hold the space for them. And also knowing that not everybody deserves to hear your story. There's value in who you are, and your time and your energy and your peace matters. And not every person deserves to hear your story and can hold the space for it in the way that maybe you need somebody to. So having certain, support systems, whether that's friends, family, a therapist, a community group, who can understand what you're going through, and doesn't always need to have commentary on what they think you should do about it, but just simply listen. Can be extremely helpful in the process of kind of pulling back those layers and allowing yourself to, know thyself better.
I hear a lot of like wisdom and discernment in who you share with, because the reality is we will meet rejection. Like we are all going to engage with people in real life, online, and want to be vulnerable and want to share, and then get rejected or misunderstood or have a negative experience. But I think that training that sort of teaches you how to start to identify who your people are and who is worthy of your story, who is worthy of sharing your time and space and energy with, because it is very valuable. And then you put yourself in a better position to be met with understanding and kindness and empathy and love and support, as opposed to rejection and trolling and down talking and all those
Oh,
things.
yeah.
So
There's a
I think
lot of
that's
that. There's a lot of
so
polarization, right? People want to argue for the sake of arguing, and
yeah.
there is times to argue, but arguing about who you are as a person is not an argument. The only person who can know it is yourself. You know what I mean? It's a
That
lived
part.
experience. It's nothing that can be said this is right or this is wrong. And I think we have to, as a society, start looking at life from like maybe a little bit more of the gray area. It's so easy to say, this is right, this is wrong, and attach morality to everything we do, everything we eat, the movement that we do, the people that we interact with, what we see online. But everything has nuance. And that is the beautiful part of the human experience. So when you do share something, online, and maybe you put yourself in a vulnerable position where you're open to rejection, knowing that like your personal experience cannot be argued by somebody who has not
Right.
experienced that, is really powerful. So stand in your power and be okay too that not everybody is going to agree. Not everybody is going to be your friend. Not every person is going to like you. And that's okay. You're not here to like everybody. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but the ones that you are, you're going to be their shot of whiskey, baby.
Yes, I love it. Even better than tea.
A lot more fun.
I think, in the work that you do, and, I've been following you for a long time, so I'm a huge fan. I love that you are very unapologetic about who you are and what you look like, and you are honest and vulnerable about your struggles that you've had with your body, but you're also like very much kicking ass and like just being who you really are without feeling like I can't show this part of my body. I can't, you know, I'm not, you don't even take on the projections as we were talking about from like what other people try to throw at you. And, being in health and fitness, I see it and I've gotten it as well. I love, first of all, your handle is Healthy with Kelsey, right? So I think it's cool to explore this idea of like what health really is and the variations in what it looks like, and then the acknowledgement that we can't look at people and determine how healthy or unhealthy they are, and even if we could, it's not our fucking business. So that part, but
Yep.
but I love what you do and how you put that out there. So I would love to hear more about your idea and understanding of health, and just for our listeners to kind of get and see a clearer picture of what that means and what it looks like from the perspective of someone
Definitely.
who does this work every day.
Yeah, I kind of look at, there's three kind of major keywords in the, I guess you could call it the health and wellness space. We hear healthy, we hear wellness, and we hear well-being. And to me, those are three completely different things. Wellness to me is something that can be commodified, something that can be sold. It's the green smoothies, it's the Pilates membership, it's the eye masks. It's like all the things that can be put a price sticker on and be sold, in my opinion. And wellness is something that is kind of like this elusive thing that like we can keep repackaging it over and over again to continue to extract money from a capitalist perspective. Because everyone wants to feel like they're not wants to feel like they're unwell, but is made to feel like they're unwell. And if they do these things and buy these things, they're going to get closer to wellness. But well-being is self-care. Well-being is the free things that you can do each and every day, like get more sleep, have an outlet where you can talk to other people, your vitality, all of the things that allow you to be the fullest version of yourself. And then I look at health kind of from this more internal perspective of just, okay, how's my blood sugar doing? How is my cortisol levels? How are my stressors doing? And maybe attach a little bit more of that kind of medical perspective of it, where it's like, okay, I want to make sure that I'm feeling good on the inside in terms of like living my best life, right? So well-being and health to me are very similar, but wellness, when I think about wellness, I often think about like all the stuff that can be sold, right? It's kind of like this catchphrase these days. And wellness is something you can pay for, but well-being is something that is inherently for you. You were born on this planet deserving of it. And it's actually a little bit more simple than we make it out to be, because there are so many things that you do every single day that's making small little tweaks here and there can actually make huge improvements, like not scrolling at nighttime before bed. Yeah. And for health for me too, when I think of Healthy with Kelsey, I moved away before I had a company, and I've been a personal trainer now for 15 years. And the first company I ever started was called Bodylicious Fitness, which is also just so fitting of my personality, but it was very fitness focused and kind of it excluded everything else around health and wellness or well-being. And so I really felt like when I moved to Healthy with Kelsey, it was a little bit more holistic. I look at those kind of four pillars of health, right? Our nutrition, our movement, our sleep, and our mental well-being. And I find that when those four things, those four pillars are doing well, and I'll preface this and say it's very rare when all four pillars are going well.
At the same time, right?
That is when we usually feel our best, right? And they all work in sync with one another. If you're not getting good sleep at night, you're probably feeling tired. If you're feeling tired, you may not be eating well. If you're not eating well, you probably don't have the energy to move your body. If you're not moving your body, you're probably not sleeping well, right? So it's like if we make one shift in one of those four pillars, there's a good chance that it's going to have a domino knock-on effect in the other areas as well. And that can be either for the good or for the bad.
Right.
Yeah.
I love those definitions because, I mean, I just think it's time. I mean, you know, similarly to both of you, just being in the fitness space for so long and just being like, I want to reclaim what these words mean because they've gone so astray. Like, it's so frustrating to me when people are like, oh, you're a fitness company. I'm like, well, stop. Let me actually give you a 10 paragraph description about what that means for me, because I do not want you walking away from this interpreting about what that traditionally means, because it's just like, I don't know. I think sometimes we mentioned this again on another episode, like I just feel sad that for whatever reason we take beautiful things like movement and food and our relationship with our body and we just commercialize it and we destroy it, and there's like so much inherent joy and beauty and connection to be had in those ways, and then we throw wellness on it and then we give people praise for participating in it, and then it's like whoa, it's like, no wonder why we're not conscious to it. I mean, it makes sense. Like I never blame somebody who is like in that space of thinking that way, because I'm like, it's a total setup. Of course we're all thinking that way because that is what we've been told.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But I appreciate you redefining those words and kind of like taking the power back for what they really are and what they really need to be, like how they need to be explained. I think that's a really powerful perspective shift when we redefine what those mean.
Yeah, I think there's something that's really interesting when I think about health versus, like I mentioned, wellness, where it's kind of this commodified, compartmentalized thing, this repackaging that we can sell. It's really hard to put a price tag on health. You know what I'm saying? Like when you look at marketing, for example, like carrots, we don't see any ads for carrots because there's no money to be made in carrots, right? And the same thing kind of goes for wellness or for health, sorry. If people are healthy, there's not a lot of money to be made. So I look at it as kind of like, okay, well, wellness then is the antithesis to that. Let me show you all the areas and all the ways in which maybe you're leading, you know, being unwell. And that way it allows me to open up the door to be like, hey, well, I have this thing or this service or this product that can fulfill and meet that need. Because for the average person, like most of us can do the bare minimum of like healthy activities, right? Like brush our teeth, take a shower, get up, set an alarm, you know, like the basic things. It's everything above and beyond that. But being well is quite simple. But there's not a lot of money to be made in people being well. So it's easy to like fall into that trap, like you mentioned, where you're stuck in the cycle. And I can understand why people may feel the need to grab on to all these external things to validate their experience that they're experiencing wellness. You know, it's really hard sometimes to define it in ourselves and in our body. And there are so many things that can contribute to that, like trauma and having a lot of disconnection with our body. But it's the little things. It's the little things that we do consistently each and every day. And many of those things don't require anything but your time and your energy.
Yeah, and they have a huge impact. And you're right. There's not commercials for carrots or, you know, just eat these vegetables. But if I make a smoothie powder that has carrot extracts and another superfood, and I package it, and I say, this is how you're going to eliminate diabetes and heart disease.
The toxins.
And the toxins in your body, and you're going to cure cancer, then everyone will buy it. So
Yeah.
it does kind of boil back down to capitalism, and its cousin, diet culture, and then of course the patriarchy in there, because women get these messages 50 times more than everyone else.
I mean, this is I don't know. This is what I've just been doing lately in our company, is just questioning everything. And I feel for my team sometimes, because they're like, "Oh, here she comes again. What's happening today?" It's like a different thing every week. But it's like oh, well, this is how marketing works. And I'm like, who invented that? Like, who said that? Like, I always want to know who made the rules. I've always been like that since a child. Who made that rule up? I want to know that.
We know who made these rules.
And so it's just about saying, let's rewrite the rules.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
let's just switch our intentions and our goals. Maybe my goal here is not to have the highest retention. Maybe when someone calls to cancel their membership here, I'm like, "Oh, I'm so glad you got what you needed. We're really happy to close your account for you."
Yeah.
I mean,
That is
maybe
unheard
it's that.
of.
Maybe it's that. Maybe it's serving the people. And
Yes.
not, I mean, we do say that in our company, like, how do we serve people first and profit second? It's this weird thing that we were talking about the other day. Like, we can't not have revenue. I have to pay people's pay.
Yeah.
Like, but it's like, how do we do it in a way that pushes back on the way we've done it before? Because we've been made to believe the only way you're going to have financial safety and security is if you follow these rules of business, of marketing, of this is what your main goal and metric should be. Why? And I know it's a risk, maybe not, to say let's do it a different way, but I believe it's worth the risk, because I do believe that we can all make a living. There's enough, I firmly believe in that. If it means that we have to reinvent marketing, great, we'll reinvent marketing. If it means that my goals in the company have to change, great, we'll do that. But sitting in what was, because we've been told that's how it's supposed to be, it just doesn't work for me anymore. And I'm just so over
It's
it.
like the blinders are off. I know.
Yeah.
I've that for me was kind of like the awakening that I had very early on as a fitness coach, when I was like sitting in body composition rooms, taking people's measurements, and just feeling like this is so uncomfortable. Like, there just has to be a better way, but it's the way I was taught. It's what people expect when they come into a gym, to do their body fat percentage and their measurements and step on the scale and then check in and, a month from then. And so it just felt like, well, what if I did things differently? What if I stepped away from doing this and really spent this time instead having conversations with what people are experiencing that are the non-scale victories? Like, it sounds silly, but like, how is your relationship with your husband? Like, oh, I'm feeling actually like we're fighting less because I'm moving my body and I have like a physical outlet for this, uncomfortable negative energy. It's like, wow, that can't be told to you on a scale. That can't be taken, but with your pulse. But it has a very
that can't be
tangible,
sold.
realistic. And it can't be sold. Exactly. But these are the real, things that really matter in people's everyday lives. And so switching up how things look is scary. It's hard to be in a leadership role and choosing to do things differently, But I think it's so powerful. It reminds me of the brand Lush. They removed all of their social media. They don't use social media platforms in any of their marketing anymore. And yet here they are. They're still thriving. They're still creating revenue. They're still doing the damn thing. So, just because it's the way things have always been, or that's what other people do, doesn't mean that there's not room for innovation and to change the narrative. And it's scary when people haven't walked the path yet, but that's so cool to be that one doing it.
I try to hold space because, I know that there's fear, and being able to, provide and move, keep going. And like, there's the risk of it comes with fear, and fear is attached to our safety.
Yep.
So it's like trying to navigate it all and then saying I'm going to trust it anyway is scary shit. And there are many days where I have told myself I want to give up.
Right.
And then I say, no, you don't. You want a break.
Yeah.
Go take a nap.
You need a nap. Yep.
Go somewhere for a day. You don't want to give up. You want a break, because it does feel fear is very overwhelming. And doing something in a way that, people haven't done it before is scary, but I always get inspired when we bring guests on like yourself who are saying, I'm here doing the risks too.
Yep.
We can, let's all keep going. And I think that's what needs to keep happening is this community, this connection of no. We can trust, we can come together. This can happen.
Absolutely.
I love it. And I always say, if not you, then who? Right? If it's not you doing it, somebody else will be, and we'll be at the mercy of their decision making. So if not you, then who? Right?
If not you, then who? Oh, I love it.
Well, Kelsey, what a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you very much for the work you're doing. And let our listeners know where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm Healthy with Kelsey across all platforms. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I launched my body positive fitness app earlier this year, so you can download the Healthy with Kelsey app. If you're looking for, a bunch of really fun body positive workouts, there's over 250 of them in the app, workout challenges and things like that. And we have a fantastic community there as well. And that's on both the Apple Store as well as the Google Play Store. So come work out with us and, send me a DM, slide into my DMs and let me know, what wellness and well-being and health means to you. I'd love to hear.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations on that app. I know that's a big thing. So congratulations on that. Check out Kelsey, check out her app, check her out on social. She's a definite follow. Absolutely. I love your content. And thank you again for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. What a joy and a pleasure.